A new report shows disproportionate COVID-19 mortality rates in Minnesota's Asian communities. The report was released by two leading Minnesota Asian organizations. Reporter Pafua Yang has more on some of the key findings.
Shannon, the new report shows that the Hmong, Karen, and Karenni communities are more impacted than other Asian ethnic groups, with Hmong people making up 49% of COVID-19 mortality rates within the Asian population. And there are several reasons for this.
A lot of members in the Hmong and Karen community, they also live in multi-generational households. And so it's not just mom and dad and baby or a son living in one household. There might be grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, niece, nephews living in the same household. And so if one person gets exposed and they come back home, multiple people can also be exposed to COVID-19 as well too.
The Coalition of Asian American Leaders and Hmong Public Health Association is urging policymakers and health providers to use this data to understand COVID infections, vaccinations, and the longer-term impact of COVID-19. Community leaders also want healthcare systems to stop grouping all Asians together in their data, saying instead there should be separate data for each ethnicity. They believe this will help systems better understand cultural differences and how to prevent further COVID-19 related deaths.
Once you disaggregate the data, then you'll see that certain populations need to be prioritized. And so when you saw this, when you read this data, we specifically showed you where the high infection rates were, where the mortality rates were. It's in very specific zip codes, and yet vaccines were not available in the first few rounds in those communities. That's not acceptable.
Among other suggestions, Hmong community leaders are recommending that more resources be provided in the Hmong language and greater access to technology, as well as cultural competence training across the healthcare. They also want vaccinations prioritized in communities with high infection and mortality rates as seen in the report. And if you'd like to take a look at the full report, we'll have that on our website, ccxmedia.org. Reporting in Brooklyn Center, Pafua Yang, CCX News.
Find more local news stories at ccxmedia.org and follow us on social media.